Well, I want to start digging into the auras a little bit more specifically, and I want to start with the clairvoyant insights from Dora van Gelder Kuntz, who was born early last century, very much a contemporary of Flower, and she had inner sight at birth, and she was later trained by C.W. Ledbetter from the Theosophical Notoriety. And this is one of the books that she put out there, The Personal Aura, and she worked with an artist, very interesting. She worked with an artist to illustrate the auras that she saw of people that she was counseling. So she was kind of not only counseling them outwardly, but also looking inwardly and trying to train herself on a greater auric understanding. And I'll leave this book up here if anybody would like to get its reference. But I found it a very interesting read. And I would like to go over, briefly at least, two souls that she was talking about. And here's the aura of one. This particular individual was known to her as a social environmental activist. And she says that's kind of important to know when you're looking into his aura, because this is an individual who is very committed to his ideal and would sacrifice much in his life towards that ideal. So we're going to start up here in the upper aura here, looking where that broad yellow patch is. And she says this is just significant that he had a fine intellect. And again, the height of it in the aura shows that he was applying it. He was using it in his work or life. The green above it shows the same kind of thing, but now more of an empathy or compassion, was using that empathy, compassion in his work or life. And the pink on the other side shows more of a towards humanity, not for the work so much, but an affection and concern for humanity. She then likened it to the pink in the lower aura region, which she says reveals that in his personality, ultimately, he was a very kind person. But do you see that blue outer edge that's kind of containing that pink? That what she would say was he kind of kept that to himself. He wasn't very outgoing and expressive of that kindness or love for humanity, so he kind of kept it in. The purple above his head, she likened to spiritual aspiration. And this is where she said this person was not really religious, very much made their work his religious life. So it took the form of that social change for the good of humanity. We know that, whenever we have something up at that loft that becomes our goal, whether it be spiritual or not, it becomes like the star, in a sense, of our consciousness above us to guide it. And so it was one of devotion, but a devotion towards their spiritual charge of social change. Next, we're going to look at this wide green band in the middle. This is kind of the outward expression of life, the foundation. And that green, she said, symbolized for her that he was very practical. And she would say she did know that he was very organized, and he took that obviously into his, not only his work, but the way he lived his life, very much living from that spectrum. And if you notice, there's little symbols on the right in front of the arrow. Those are actually little globes. And she says those symbols are archetypes in that, again, this band is kind of how he meets life with that practicality. It shows basically the archetypes that were most important for this individual, which of course was global economy and social justice. So that's why this individual had those. She said it's a very unusual pattern in that band was that group of dark green trees on the other side. And Kuntz saw these, and so she asked the individual when she saw these, was this a symbol of peace and harmony for him? And he told her that for many years before going to sleep at night, he would visualize a certain group of trees in a spot he knew and loved, and that this seemed to put his day's work into a larger perspective. It gave him a sense of the peace within nature, a peace that endures in spite of the turbulence and conflict he felt in his daily life. And so look how that archetype is then part of his aura, kind of being that ideal for him.